Welcome. Thanks for your presence. If you are enjoying this, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps joy and inspiration move forth into the world. Good morning. Welcome. 1,000 welcomes. Welcome to the all-weather yogis. So we get to be yogis no matter what the weather is. We get to be yogis when it's cool. We get to be yogis when it's not cool. And we're connecting with inner warmth. If we're here on a cold morning, we're connecting with inner warmth. We all have radiant inner sunshine available to us always and inwardly. So this is possible. It's possible to feel inwardly as if we're just basking and bathing in that radiant warmth of inner sunshine. So let us enjoy that for ourselves and then share that radiant light with everyone whom we encounter. We are meditating. We have been meditating since we began this hour on the topic of absolute peace. And so we're inviting ourselves to connect with the direct, felt realization of absolute peace. In one way, absolute peace is with us always. We've never been separate from absolute peace. There's nothing that we can ever do to depart from absolute peace for even one instant. And then in another way, I'm just, with a sense of humor and with love and compassion, inviting everyone to look back over their last week. Were there any moments that you felt something other than absolute peace? And I'm hearing some laughter, and I'm seeing some smiles, and I'm seeing some heads that are nodding in agreement that in time and space, it is occasionally, at least, possible to experience, for a moment, now and then, something other than absolute peace. So in those moments, what are some self-remembrances that we can give ourselves to connect directly with the energy of absolute peace, which in truth we are always? So here are a couple of invitations. The first one comes from Swami Nityananda. Swami Nityananda says, enlightenment is that state of consciousness in which one offers no resistance to the flow of pure source energy, which includes peace. And so enlightenment is not static, and it's not fixed, and it's not bounded. It's not a thing. So another way to say this is living in light is that state of consciousness in which one offers no resistance to the flow of pure source energy, which includes peace. So I'm inviting each of us to connect with a moment this week where we felt something other than absolute peace. So it might have been a moment where you experienced a surprise or something that you would have chosen not to experience if you were choosing on a human level. Connect with that moment and now flow to yourself in that moment, pure source energy in absolute peace. And just notice what happens. It is actually possible in consciousness right now to reach out and to embrace yourself with pure source energy in absolute peace in that moment. And just notice what happens. Notice how you feel in consciousness when you flow pure source energy in absolute peace to yourself in that moment. Feels pretty sweet, doesn't it? It's really a lovely gift to give ourselves. Notice what else happens. And so I'm inviting you to just practice gentle, good-humored, honest, compassionate self-inquiry in a moment where humanly you experience disappointment or pain or shock or fear or dismay or the experience of separateness that helps you have the appearance of something other than absolute peace in that moment. I'm just asking myself this question. In that moment, am I opening my heart to unconditional love in that moment? And now, let us consciously open our heart to unconditional love in that moment. And so this, again, is one of those moments where humanly we've given ourselves the experience of something that appears to be different from absolute peace. And just notice what happens if you say, in that moment, with unconditional love, I open my heart. I open my heart in that moment and in every moment to unconditional love and unconditional light. And then notice what happens. There's no resistance in that moment. There might still be something to navigate, right? There might still be the phone call to answer, the appointment to attend to, the conversation to have, the repair to arrange, whatever it is that still needs to be attended to in time and space. We will be lovingly and wisely, from inspired inner awareness, able to act in peace and in joy, in willingness, in freedom. And so for every one of us always, the question is simply, am I opening, in this moment, am I opening my heart fearlessly to share unconditional love and unconditional light in this moment? Am I sharing it with myself? And am I allowing that energy to be shared through me with one who appears to be another? In reality, we're only ever always meeting ourselves. And so if we're seeming to have a conflict or a resistance in relation to another human, that's just an aspect of ourselves we're invited to love, we're invited to connect with, we're invited to share with that being pure source energy, absolute peace, opening the heart fearlessly in that moment to unconditional love and unconditional light. So I'll share a couple of other teachings from scriptures and then a couple of stories, a couple of meditations to invite us to be this energy of absolute peace, flowing pure source energy of absolute peace in every moment of human existence in time and space. The Aitareya Upanishad says to each of us, there is an aspect of ourselves that is absolute peace always, and then there is the aspect of ourselves that is experiencing sensory perception, that is experiencing duality, that is experiencing the manifested universe. And what we're invited to do always is to realize that anything the senses can experience is a gift from absolute peace to us in our human form. Thank you, absolute peace. Chances are, from the looks and the laughter, many of us have been receiving many sensory gifts from absolute peace in the realm of time and space. And so doesn't it just help to connect with that energy of compassion and joy and good humor in our spirit, in our purity of heart, in our calm, clear awareness? We are always the energy of good humor. We are always the energy of unconditional love. We're always the energy of this absolute peace. And that's what the Upanishad is telling us. And so it's speaking to both of these aspects of ourselves. The aspect of ourselves that experiences sensory perceptions, and sensory perceptions can include the perception of limitation. So anytime we experience that perception of limitation, we're invited to connect with that which is limitless, which is always here in every single moment. So the Upanishads say, inspired by the law of supreme divinity, while living in the relative world of sensory perception, there arose in human beings the desire to realize the reality of absolute perfection. That's us. We're experiencing sensory perceptions and saying, yes, please, let's go for absolute perfection. I am ready for absolute perfection in the face of what appears to be the experience of sensory separateness, the illusion of pain, the illusion of fear, the illusion of suffering, the illusion of confusion, the illusion of feeling cut off and disconnected. And this teaching is telling us that for all of us, for all humans, the reality of absolute perfection is actually already there. And we're invited to connect with it. We're invited to realize it. The next verse says, awakened by this spiritual hope, through devotion, these humans came to realize that the whole universe is the manifested form of God, the divine reality. Everything that we experienced last week that appeared to be dismaying or disruptive or painful or non-preferred from a human perspective, that was the manifested form of God, the divine reality. Woo! So as soon as we realize that, then we're free. In the midst of all of the human perceptions, in the midst of all of the human feelings, the midst of all of the human conversations. And so that's what these teachings are for, to help us remember that underlying all of these human experiences, every form, every name, every perception, every experience, that is the manifested form of God, the divine reality. We're all part of it. We're all included. We're all connected. We're all participating. The Bhagavad Gita also points to the healing energy of devotion. So I'm not sure if you noticed that, but the Upanishad says that it is through devotion that it is possible to realize that the whole universe is the manifested form of God, the divine reality. So that energy of pure, limitless love allows us to be in contact with the divine reality always. And so another way of saying that is, if I'm not feeling connected with the divine reality always, I'm back to that opening invitation. How may I open my heart to the energy of unconditional love fearlessly in this moment, without limitation? How may I open my heart to the energy of unconditional light fearlessly, without limitation in this moment? And it's devotion, it's that energy of unconditional love that melts away obstacles. It melts away the illusion of separation. And it brings us back into contact with that divine reality of unity, harmony, connectedness, community, affinity, that which we adore, which is present with us always. The Bhagavad Gita tells us as well, let your entire inner being be absorbed in devotion to the divine. And so if you allow your entire inner being to be absorbed in the devotion to the divine, you will feel that boundless energy of absolute peace as well. And so as we listen, I'm inviting us to open our heart and allow our entire inner being to be absorbed in devotion to the divine. Just allow yourself to feel what that feels like. So a couple of stories that I came across this week that help us connect with different ways in which it is possible as a human to encounter this perception of the underlying reality, the divinity, that the whole universe is the manifested form of God, that unconditional love and absolute peace are available and present always, that it is possible for our entire inner being to be absorbed in devotion to the divine and to move in that flow of pure source energy from moment to moment in time and space. And so the first story comes from a woman who was traveling beyond her body thanks to a physical accident that her body had experienced. And she traveled beyond her body. She was still there. She was looking down at her body and she noticed that EMTs were very frantically working on her body. The EMTs were extraordinarily concerned. They were panicking. She was like, I have no concern at all. I'm absolutely fine. She was only concerned for the EMTs because they were so concerned. And so what she noticed as soon as she traveled beyond her body was, I am radiant, boundless love. Radiant, boundless love has no concern. And so she was only compassionately aware that the EMTs were experiencing strain because they were having trouble keeping her physical body here. And she was, thanks to their loving efforts, allowed to be here in the physical. She came back into her body. And then the challenge is, when you come back into your body, having traveled beyond your body, how do I live compassionately in this vehicle of flesh, knowing that I am boundless, radiant love, and right now, this physical body is experiencing whatever this physical body is experiencing. And so that is where we are able to expand in boundless compassion and healing for ourselves. And so turn to your physical body and just ask, Have I been treating my physical vehicle as a temple of radiant, boundless love? Have I been loving this physical vehicle with patience? Have I been allowing myself to experience the energy of absolute peace in relation to this physical vehicle? And this is one of the wonderful soul growth opportunities of being a human in a body, in time and space. So when we are in our eternal true realization, radiant, boundless love, there's no limitations. We can think it, and it is so. It is only in the physical body that we have the opportunity to experience what is it like to experience all the seasons as the year unfolds. What is it like to experience all the seasons in a human life that the divine helps us experience in a human body? Some of those seasons are really fun, really sweet, really delightful. Some of those seasons are very heart-opening if we allow ourselves to love ourselves forward through all of it. And that which it is possible to gain as radiant, boundless love in physical form is only possible to gain as radiant, boundless love in physical form. Another way of saying this is, it's amazing to be here in a human body. It's absolutely amazing. And so am I allowing myself to remember and be amazed appropriately? And so a couple of images that came across my path, I'm sure other images came across your path this week, but one image was a 3-year-old girl, and she was just whirling with joy. So she was wearing a dress, and her dress was like whirling out, and she was just a whirling motion of joy. And you could sort of see like her dress like whirling out as she was dancing in this whirling motion of joy. And she knew she was loved by her mom. She knew that it was safe for her to dance. She knew that it was safe for her to whirl with joy in that moment. And so just to love yourself and give yourself those precious, beautiful, safe spaces and times in your own life. Like it might be in your kitchen where you dance with yourself, with absolute joy, with absolute freedom, allowing yourself to dance in a human body. Allow yourself truly to dance in this human body. Whatever dancing looks like for you. So another story, true story, came from a man who was born into what humans would call a disabled body. And he had wrestled with his disabled body his entire life. He was a deep believer in prayer, and he knew very directly that all things are possible to God. And so he was praying to God. And he prayed to God, God, will you heal this body? And he was asking for a physical healing. He was asking that his disabled body change its form. The healing that came to him was the divine opened his heart so he could love his body exactly as it is. And so that he could live a full human life, sharing his light in the way that only he could share his light, in exactly that body that the divine gave him, knowing that there was nothing wrong with the body that the divine gave him, knowing that that was the vehicle through which the divine wanted to share absolute peace and unconditional love and unconditional light through him. And so for ourselves, can we let go of anywhere we've been judging this body? It's not a mistake. It is a divine gift, exactly as it is, however it is a divine gift. And then when we are in contact with that energy of absolute peace, the divine will let us know if there are any adjustments to make in terms of taking care of our body temple. The divine will help us, and the divine will guide us, and it will be that energy of limitless love, that energy of joy, that energy of devotion that guides us and that helps us. And then the other image that crossed my path was a photo of a 3-year-old boy, and he was drawing. And he was actually, so it was like this big sheet. I think they might call it like butcher block paper. And it was on a dining room table. And he was up on the dining room table. And he was like actually standing on the butcher block paper. And he was kneeling down. He was just completely absorbed in drawing on this butcher block paper. And he's from an artist family, and you could tell like he was just so loving whatever it was that he was drawing. You couldn't actually see what image he was creating. But just to allow yourself to be absorbed in joy, in that creative expressiveness, in that drawing. And you can use drawing as not just a metaphor for creating art with beauty, but for connecting with that energy of creative inspiration, connecting with that energy of expression, which is here. We are part of that. Like that life force energy is here in each of us, and it shares through each of us beautifully and uniquely in a way that is completely unprecedented. It's as unique as a fingerprint. So to connect with that energy and to allow yourself to joy in, I know I'm kind of making up a verb right there, but joy in that creative expressiveness so that you actually do the equivalent of climbing onto the dining room table and sort of squatting down and drawing with your whole body and your whole being, whatever it is that you love. And in another way, what it is that each of us is drawing is our life. Each of us is drawing our life. Each of us is an artist of our life. And when we are in contact with that energy of absolute peace, when we are able to recognize that this is boundless radiant love in this form, even if it is a form that humans would look at and would say, oh, well, that's a disabled body, it is the energy of boundless radiant love that is in that form. And boundless radiant love is able to share through that form in a way that actually completes the whole. The whole is not complete without the contributions that each of us makes. And each of us is so interconnected to the whole that we feel this. Each of us feels that simple, pure energy of kindness and awareness that can only share through us. And each of us feels on an inner level, we have to share that simple, pure energy of kindness and awareness and unconditional love. And as we draw with creative joy our own life, the whole universe benefits as we allow that energy of absolute peace and we allow that energy of unconditional love fearlessly to share with us and through us and as us. Thank God, and God bless us all.